So I am good at games. Cards games, board games, skill games, they just kind of work in my brain. I pick them up quickly, I devise a strategy, and I win games most of the time. Much to the chagrin of my friends and family. And some things in life are just like that, right? We all have things that we are inherently pretty good at. So we have some previous skills or abilities easily apply, and it feels good. Jumping into a new activity, already feeling like you can be good at it, you can be successful. A couple weeks before I did this sermon 6 years ago, I went axe throwing with some friends in Michigan. This is a new fad all over the country. There's places to throw axes in Atlanta if you're interested. What you do is you have some drinks, you throw some hatchets. Very safe, very good. So my friends and I, we got there early, and we're watching some other people throw axes, and I'm thinking, whoa, I'm gonna be great at this. So we get the tutorial, we get an extensive safety talk, and we start playing, and it turns out that I am really bad at throwing axes. I think in the hour we were there, I threw an axe like 25 times. Most of the time, it would just kind of hit the board in the wrong place and fall down. Occasionally, it would go into the board, but nowhere near the target. I still had a very good time, but I'm sure I would have had a much better time if I was good at it, right? If it had come to me more naturally. Now, axe throwing is decidedly low stakes. There was no betting, nobody looked at me differently or lost respect for me because I couldn't accurately throw an axe into a board. There are places in life where being good at something like your job or taking care of others or finances, it's important. But we're not talking about those things today. We're talking about things that have the potential to enrich our lives in little or big ways, things that we avoid because we don't want to struggle. When we approach something new that doesn't come easily to us, we have some decisions to make, such as, do I need to be better at it to enjoy it? And maybe not, right? Some things are just about process, not product. There are a lot of people who love playing golf and are absolutely terrible at it, and their being terrible has no effect on their enjoyment. That goes for a lot of activities. If you're not, by some definition, good at something, but you love doing it, you should just keep doing it. Another question arises when we aren't instantly good at something, which is it worth it? Will improving at this activity enrich my life, my community, or the world around me? For instance, I am terrible at golf. Right? My father owned a golf store when I was a child, and I'm just bad. No matter what club I'm swinging, driver to pitching wedge, it's going to go 50 yards forward and 50 yards to the right, usually onto a different hole. But early in college, I had fun playing golf on occasion with my friends who were also bad at golf. But they decided to get better. They went to the driving range, they took some lessons, they started playing more regularly, and the time and expense it would have taken to improve my golf game just wasn't worth it to me. So I stopped. I don't golf. A decidedly different story. In college, I was the assistant conductor of an 80-voice collegiate choir, and one week, the director was away, and I got a full 2-hour rehearsal to myself. So I set up a camera, which is a normal thing to do when you do this for a living. And I thought the rehearsal went okay, but the next day I watched the video, and I realized that I was bad. My gestures, they were all over the place, my verbal directions weren't concise, and I wasn't making the choir better. I was bad at something, but this time it was really, really important to me. So I started a choir. I was 21 years old. I started a choir. I got 12 of my friends together. We did a concert of way too much music that was way too hard. And when I listen back to the recording, there are some really beautiful moments. And there are some really not beautiful moments. And there are even a couple of comically bad moments. But I was definitely a better musician and conductor at the end of the process. And process is the important word. I've studied with a lot of top-tier choral conductors in my life, but my most important teachers, without a doubt, have been the choir members here at UUCA. We have taught each other a great deal over the last 17 years. We have spent hundreds of hours making art over and over with varying degrees of success. We go through the fire together every single Wednesday night, right? We pull out a new piece of music, and of course we're bad at the new piece of music the first time, but maybe the first few times, but we learn that piece together. On the journey, we build some long-term skills. It's a wonderful microcosm of being bad for a short while and then presenting a product to hundreds of people. Sometimes just a few days later. You're the people. I'm super pleased with how the choir sounds right now. We made some beautiful music in December, and I know it just continues to get better all the way through May every year. So like Ira Glass said in the really fast talking video we watched earlier, sometimes you just need to keep creating and great things happen. This is a short excerpt from the book Art and Fear, Observations on the Perils and Rewards of Art Making by David Bales and Ted Orion. The ceramics teacher announced on opening day that she was dividing the class into 2 groups. All of those on the left side of the studio, she said, would be graded solely on the quantity of work they produced, and all of those on the right side solely on the quality. Her procedure was simple. On the final day of class, she would bring in her bathroom scale and weigh the work of the quantity group. 50 pounds or better, you get an A. 40 pounds a B, and so on. Those being graded on quality, however, only needed to produce 1 pot, albeit a perfect one, to get an A. Well, grading time came and the curious fact emerged. The works of the highest quality were produced by the quantity group. It seems that while the quantity group was busily turning out piles of work and in the process learning from their mistakes, the quality group had sat theorizing about perfection, and in the end had little more to show for their efforts and grandiose theories than a pile of dead clay. Oh, that's a burn. Anyway, so ends our reading. Sometimes, as us, we get stuck in theories. Also, sometimes we forget that even if the average level of intelligence in this room is shockingly high, and it is, we're going to make mistakes. Early in my career, I noticed that choirs, when they're sight reading new music, they sight read it quite sheepishly. Everyone was trying to avoid singing wrong notes, to avoid mistakes at all costs. And this is a recipe not only for tight and unhealthy singing, but for fear and anxiety existing in your rehearsal space, and all rehearsal space has to be safe space. I've spent nearly 2 decades encouraging choirs to read boldly. Mistakes be damned. You just go for it. I feel like we all of us, a kind of PTSD from school, right? From trying to avoid the red X, that on your math test, that lower score, the bad grade. In life, you're going to make mistakes, so you can stop avoiding them. Make mistakes with gusto, but then you can fix it. Benjamin Zander is a master educator, and he's the conductor of the Boston Philharmonic Orchestra. He says this: I recommend when you make a mistake, you go like this. How fascinating! You should try it with me. How fascinating! It's much better because it takes away the we feel when we make a mistake. We'll try that one too. You know it, right? Mistakes, naturally, they pull us down. They make us shrink. They make us want to hide or make faces, right? It feels much better to go, how fascinating, and move on, right? We're going to make mistakes anyway. We might as well be nice to ourselves in the process. There's an old Zimbabwean proverb. If you can walk, you can dance. If you can talk, you can sing. We can look past the ableism. People who can't walk can dance, and there are many people who can't talk but can sing, right? We can look past that and know that if you walk, you can dance. If you talk, you can sing is a great proverb. I love the depth. It says, stop overthinking it. Stop telling yourself what you can't do. Stop telling yourself what you can't do. I wrote it twice and I thought it was a typo, but I meant to say it twice. People tell me all the time, people make a point to tell me that they can't sing. It is a normal part of my life. Strangers who have seen me conduct will tell me in a grocery store, right? When people tell me they can't sing, they're just saying the wrong thing. What they mean is, I'm not good at singing yet. I'm not good at dancing yet. I'm not good at drawing, public speaking, math, gardening, axe throwing yet. Yet is a powerful word. It is a hopeful word. Maybe you aren't good at the thing. And maybe you don't want to be good at the thing, but it doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means you haven't gone through the struggle yet. One piece of being a welcoming community is being a place where people are allowed to make mistakes and still be loved. Allowed to be bad at something, to be in the struggle. We can change and grow and love each other through the process. And we have to love ourselves through the process part too. All children love to sing. All of them. It is only when they hear an adult say, I can't sing, that a kid starts to wonder, can I sing? Even worse is when a kid is singing and someone tells them to stop, that they shouldn't sing, that they are too loud or off key or can't carry a tune in a bucket. Someone kills that joy, that natural childlike expression, and I know that that has happened to many people in this room today. Many people. When people tell me, oh, you don't want me to sing in your choir, I don't laugh. I don't think it's a funny joke. I hear someone trying to laugh off trauma. Someone telling you you shouldn't do something, especially something you really enjoy, is a traumatic experience that causes long-term hurt, long-term shame. One struggle for us as a group of progressive people is dealing with progress. The nature of being progressive is that the bar will always be moving. That's progress. The arc of the moral universe is always bending towards justice and inclusion, even in times like now where it doesn't feel that way. And we want that arc to keep on turning. We want the bar to move, even if sometimes we react poorly to change. My favorite Christmas carol, one that the choir sang at our Moravian Love Feast, is I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day. It's a setting of a poem by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, and every verse ends with, peace on earth, goodwill to men. Now, the choir has sung this song many times, and even though I was gently asked several times to change the text to goodwill to all, I didn't for several years. One musical reason is that it is easier for a choir to tune on an E vowel followed by an N than it is for a choir to tune on an A vowel followed by an L. You don't have to care about that, but I do. I care very much. It took me too many years. And I also thought, that he was such a famous poet. Longfellow certainly meant all when he wrote men. It took me too many years to understand how important representation was, right? That when you're saying men to mean all inherently is exclusive of more than half of the world's population. We now sing peace on earth to all, goodwill. It fixes both problems. Fixes the musical issue and the issue that I was woefully blind to for too long. UUs did such a good job of getting rid of patriarchal language in our hymnals and our readings. When readings used brothers or men to refer to everyone, we replaced it with sisters and brothers or women and men. We replaced the word Lord with a bunch of different words. Sometimes, by changing the text, we took out so much of the poetic cadence and poetic beauty that the readings or songs are no longer that useful. Casualties in the quest for equality. Now, we're being asked to use even more inclusive language when we just got good at the last change. Progress. I still struggle with our hymn, We'll Build a Land. Come build a land where siblings and sages which is what we've been singing for years, because sisters and brothers, that term carries some poetic weight, right? A certain poetic grandiosity that I really love. And because it's familiar. Familiar is always easier, but sometimes we need to struggle with something for a while because it not only serves us, but our community and our world. Using gender non-binary language can be tricky. I gender neutralize God all the time. Using gender non-binary language can be tricky because most of us haven't been taught how to do it well. Yet. We use singular they and them all the time. Who's delivering the pizza? They are. We use singular are all the time. We say they are, not they is. I learned this from a non-binary friend of mine who helped me with my well-meaning ignorance. You see, intelligent, caring people will make mistakes. They will, and they will, and they will, and you will, and I will, and we will. And we will try to continue to change and be better because that is what progress asks of us. Being exclusive is easy. If everyone in the room believes the same thing, it's pretty easy not to offend each other. It's easy not to struggle, but we welcome differences here. We encourage them, and by that very nature, we're going to struggle and make mistakes and try to do better. How fascinating! We can actively support each other in the struggle instead of beating each other back. It's hard work, and we're going to be bad for a while, and then the target is going to move, and then we're going to be bad at it again, and we're going to struggle, and there's going to be frustration, and then we will grow. We will change and keep trying, and our lives and our community will be enriched. May we all have permission to be bad. May we always be kind to each other. May it be so.